Sounds good. So this is meeting number so the PR to Berlin Meta is already in the EIP's repo under a PR. It looks like we're waiting for some review on this. This is something I can also review. It's good if Axic does, just because he's not related to this topic, I guess. But like, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, like the idea here is like ECH would be providing an update to that PR every time, like adding the most, most relevant EIPs, putting into the right category there, so that we should have a place for people to visit and know what all EIPs are getting into EIP Berlin Meta.
Yeah, so myself and Greg also have push access. So that would be something that if you ping me, I can look at it and review it and do that.
Okay. So, okay, fine. I have updated it with the latest one based on the last all core dev meetings. I can share that and
great.
Any of
Perfect. All right, the ECH website, it looks like there is a section called upcoming network upgrade that shows IPs. So that's cool that that's updated. Is that some, or actually who would give an update on that?
Yeah, actually, this is the thing. It wasn't there earlier since that Meta thing was getting, it needs certain reviews and it has to undergo process. So I thought that if we should be keeping this particular section over here, it would be having another place to reach out to know which one are the right thing. Right EIP is getting into it. So that was just my idea. I wanted to throw that this is what we are trying to do this time. Is it appropriate, acceptable?
I like the idea.
Okay, and we'll maintain this as well.
Anybody else have comments on that topic? Specifically the updating of the website on EIPs?
Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's much better than the speed at which we're able to update the actual hard fork meta, unfortunately. So yeah, I think that's great.
One more thing I wanted to add here is about the status of the EIPs. Like I know many of those are in testing mode, many of those are still into draft modes and everything else. So EFI is ideally supposed to capture that thing, but we understand that there are also some lags there. So if it is appropriate, I can come up with a table here mentioning which EIP is under what stage, and that we can do after every all core dev call.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Work with James on that, just because especially if there's questions on where something's at, he's the best person to ask.
Sure.
Lastly, EIP's curation and summary. That's what we just talked about, right? You making that table?
Oh, no, this was related to, like in the previous call, me and Tim were discussing that we should be having some kind of information going out for the community based on the EIPs, like in a less technical way, or maybe if it is a highly technical EIP, just we should point them to the right place to read more about it. So kind of, resources making available for the community.
Okay. Anybody have comments on that, or go ahead, Pooja?
Yeah, so initially we were thinking about like rewriting it, but that did not sounded as a good idea. So we are thinking of making it, curating the list for the difficult one. That means the technical one only, but still, I think Tim, he may be able to help us with.
Yeah, so
yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, I think what we should probably do is try and aggregate, when there's Medium articles and whatnot about them, try to bundle them and share them. And when there's not, I guess we can link the EAP, and then once we get closer to the upgrade, we can write like a little paragraph like we always do for the upgrades. But like in the meantime, as people kind of provide sources to understand the EAPs better, we should try and link them.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, so that's about it.
Okay. Oh, and who's taking notes today, by the way? I think that's...
I think it's Edson, right?
Yeah, I'm taking notes.
Thank
Cool.
you.
Just making sure. Thanks, Edson. Okay. So if there's no, is there any other comments with that? And was that figured out, Pooja? You just got the thumbs up on that?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Just wanted like everybody's thing on that, because me and Tim have been going back and forth on that. So just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention.
Okay. Next item, number 2, is the ECH Substack mailing. This is different than James's Substack mailing with EIP stuff, right?
Yes, it is. It is a new proposal by Sachin. So Sachin, please take it over.
Yeah, hey guys. So I proposed this because since I have joined ECH, right? So I was waiting core devs meeting, but it is too detailed and like people who are not very technically following all the developments in Ethereum community, it's hard to catch up for them. So that's why I had this idea where we can only point out the action items and decisions of every meeting and do a short para about the summary of the meeting and just ship it through a Substack mail, so that we can have a proper building of community. Like, this is essentially community outreach for ECH. Yeah, that's the idea.
Am I muted? What happened here? Oh, I'm here. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good. And that's something you want to take on via the Substack platform?
Yeah. Like,
okay.
I shared it with Angela too, and she agreed that she feels the same thing.
Cool.
Actually, yeah, I'd love to volunteer for the content part, and we could, as a community, mailing list, just the way we do for notes, but this would be specific for the developers, and I feel that it'll be really helpful for everyone.
Great. We don't have a process. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, how would people, like, and you're intending this to be for people outside of the cat herders, correct?
Yes.
How would they find it to subscribe to it? Like, where's the onboarding going to be?
Yeah, so onboarding is like, one is full strategies, like, forums and tweets by the people who feel that it is valuable, like our ECH community and other people around it. And then the push strategies, of course, the community outreach. So I just have, like, I know a lot of people around, so I can just push it into, just Telegram groups, and we can do a Reddit. Like, it'll gradually increase. So I don't have a process for community outreach yet or any stuff like that, but that's what I have in mind right now.
That we can, I think, do with the help of the our newsletter, or maybe our Twitter, or the website. We can add this thing. So I think that's going to be helpful. We'll be building community over there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that does sound good. I agree. If I can help out, let me know. Either I'm maybe editing or writing.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
All right, be in touch.
Okay, sure.
Does Substack cost money? Because if it does, we can maybe help pay.
Substack actually has this thing where if your subscriber is paid, then like we get a certain payment. But since I don't have experience of that, but what I can do is I can coordinate with Pooja on this, so that whatever follows upon this, like we can plan out things about the payment and stuff. Like, I'm not really asking for payment right now. Let me just prove its value first, and then we can follow up on that discussion.
Cool. I meant as a platform if it cost any money, because I'm just so unfamiliar with Substack.
No. Sorry, I misunderstood. So no, it doesn't cost any money to make a mailing list for Substack.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great. Anybody else on this topic?
Yeah, I think so. This was just the initial idea that that we wanted to share with the group, and maybe by next meeting we would come up with a detailed plan how we are going to implement this. If nobody has any objection on it, and we are willing to go ahead with this.
Cool. Okay, the next item, the EIP improvement process meetings. We still have that EIP procedure survey out there, and we can give an update on that now. That would be Edson, right?
Yeah, no major updates since the previous meeting. We got our first purely community update, like a response from someone. Most of them have been from EIP editors, EIP authors, and core developers. I wrote up a quick Medium article on the current results, which should go out in next Monday.
Okay.
So be on the lookout for that next Monday. That should summarize all the results
Great.
we have so far.
Awesome update. Thank you. Anybody else have a comment on that?
Just another thing, like before we send the results out, I just have put a blog out giving the initial introduction of what EIP, and I try to put the survey in there again so that people might respond if they have not responded it so far. So yeah, that's the plan. We would be doing it in 2 parts. One part is out already, and another part will be coming up on next Monday.
Great. Okay. Number 4, events and conferences, the Consensus 2020 event participation update. We actually talked about that recently, me and Tim and Pooja a little bit. Pooja, do you want to give the update?
So that list that we have shared earlier that has like 6 to 7 projects. On Friday, they came back with some time limitation. The duration limitation was for 60 minutes only. We have to make some adjustment over there. And now they have kind of agreed yesterday that they would give us more time. So we are working on which presentation should go for how much duration. That's one part. And the second and important part was about the selection of logo that we should provide for their advertisement on their website. So the discussion was about which logo should go. Should it be Ethereum or should it be the cat herders? Because cat herders are trying to include all the projects also from the Ethereum ecosystem. And if it goes for Ethereum Foundation, there would be some issues, legal issues and Ethereum. So what is the general thought over here?
I think how we have it right now, basically planning for whatever happens is kind of the best strategy. What I mean by that is having the multiple, like the 7, I think you said 7 teams was the original layout.
7.
Yeah.
7.
And now there's much less because of the time restriction that one of them gave. So let's just be ready for them to flip-flop if that happens. And yeah, beyond that, what was the other question? I missed it.
Yeah, so we were thinking about the cat herders logo to be going on the website of the CoinDesk and other promotional material they would want to. So is it appropriate or do we have other thoughts on that?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Cool. So yeah, those are the 2 updates. Yeah, please go ahead.
Something else. Yeah, something else I'm not sure I'm understanding. The schedule right now in the Google Docs. So the current state is that we lost a bunch of time.
Yeah, they said that earlier it was 3 hours when it was like a physical event. Then they turned out to be the virtual one. Then they said 1 to 3 hours. Now, yesterday they communicated that it could be of 2 hours. So we are planning to take 1 hour, 40 minutes over there. And the distribution has to be done like the duration.
Right. So how are we choosing like what what stays in, what gets pulled out?
The final list that is there on the sheet, we are not planning to pull out any of those. Just about the distribution of time slot that they would be getting. That is the final one.
Okay, fine. I think I got it. Okay, fine. Maybe I'll try and talk with you about something afterwards then. I got it.
Yeah, sure. Please feel free to ping me anytime.
All right. Anybody else have comments on that? Okay. The Ethereum Cat Herders funding through the Ecosystem Support Program and Moloch DAO. We have another meeting today with the ESP team, which is a follow-up meeting from our original meeting. We've sent them further documentation to let them know what our Q1, or really our Q1 to Q2 plans are for the cat herders, what we've accomplished so far, things of that nature. We'll probably reuse part of those documents to also apply for a Moloch DAO grant. And that's the current status. Not much has changed besides sending in the new documentation between last meeting and now that I can think of.
Yeah, and we may be like a type of coming up with the Q1 outcomes blog, or maybe Q2 plans for public communication, that what we are doing and what we are planning to do in this quarter. We already have done some of those, but yes.
Great. Okay, so the next one is the ETH 2.0 notes bounty. Pooja?
Yeah, so I tried to connect with Danny again, but I understand that he may not be, available for putting out the bounty there. So I have sent a request that we would be doing that on our end. But my question here with everybody is like, I wanted to check, like this has been due since January. Like people have not received. Is it something that the Cat Herders Fund should consider and pay out those people? Or should we just wait?
We shouldn't give our money away unless we're going to get reimbursed.
Yeah, that's the question I have been asking to Danny again. Like, is it something that they have fund for that? And if they do, could you be like kind enough to transfer it to ours so that we can manage? The problem is management part and the fund part. Yeah. So we do not have any clear indication from them so far that if they have fund for this or not. But considering that if they may not have fund for this, we are applying funding from the Moloch and the ESP as well. Like in this new proposal, I am considering that they do not have fund, please fund us. So, I mean, I do not have like a yes or no on that. I have been trying to call Danny on the call. So if he may get a time to join us, he may be able to give us some update on that. But yeah.
And remind me this week and I'll try to reach out to him myself because sometimes since I'm on an internal Discord with him for the Ethereum Foundation, I can reach out to him for that.
Yeah, sure. I will do that.
I just have one question, like, excuse me if I'm a little out of bounds, but I just know that Scott Moore from Gitcoin was putting on the bounties for Eth2 nodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, does he have any action item in this? Because I'm having a meeting with Scott like 3 hours later today, so I can ask him about this.
So Scott said that he could not give any bounty because he has not received any request from the H2 team. He has not been getting any request from Danny's side. So I understand that there can be a shortage of bandwidth with the H2 team. And that's where we said that Cat Herder can help you out putting out those bounty, and then Scott can fulfill that. So we are just waiting on answer from their part, what role they would want us to play in there.
You know what would be good though, Sachin, when you talk to him, I don't think it would be out of line at all to ask, hey, for the Ethereum 2.0 note taking, has there been a trench of money already given to you to support that note taking? So you can see if Scott Moore and Gitcoin have the money or if Danny's giving it every time, because my guess would be that Scott and Gitcoin have the money already.
Got it. I'll ask him.
And just to give you additional support there, Sachin, I think there is a PR by Brent in which Danny is trying to check it with Scott. So I think it is ultimately in his court, like the ball is in his court, that he is the right person to know about what is the status of this.
Then it helps. Yeah, definitely. I'll point out this also.
Yeah, Brent, if you could please share the PR link with Sachin, that might help to his discussion.
Okay, I'll look that up.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you all for that. If there's nothing else on there, the next one would be the promotion and positioning for the Ethereum cat herders, placing community promotion ads at the Ethereum Stack Exchange.
Yeah, so that one's me. Let me just throw the link into chat. The Ethereum Stack Exchange just has this like little thing where you can put in like a banner that will get displayed instead of an ad on the Ethereum Stack Exchange. So I thought it might be just a cute place to just try and drive some awareness and try and get our banner there. The details are there in the link for what it would need. It would just basically need a submission and then some upvotes on the meta for the Ethereum Stack Exchange. So I was curious what other people thought about that, and also if anyone might be capable of making a logo for something like that.
I
Yeah.
already made some candidates for the logo or for the banner.
Oh, I
knew
forgot.
the
I spoke with you
dimensions.
about that, Edson, didn't I? Oh,
Yeah.
man. Slipped my mind. I forgot where we were holding with that even. Okay, great. So you have candidates for the actual banner. What are people's opinions about trying to go for something like this?
So I already liked number 11 very much. That is very simple and like saying these things. So I'm not sure, did you get chance to work on the logo part, Edson? I don't think I see it here. So
I added some at the end.
I see that, yes. Number 16, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could add a logo to one we choose.
Yeah,
But that's how adding the logo would look like right now. To two of them. So if you guys can look through them, and we could have a vote on which ones we could try to move forward with, or we could vote to just go with new ones other than these.
so
I think we should be
personally,
able to find.
Yeah, personally, I like number 11, but I requested him to add some logos as well. So I think it is out again there. So we might want to vote it, and by before, I mean, like by the end of this week or maybe by Monday, we could come up with something so that William and Edson can sync up and place an ad. What do you guys think?
I think that's a great idea to do that.
Also, when it happens, for anyone who has a Stack Exchange account, I'll try and get word out to try and upvote it, because I think it needs like a minimum of 5 upvotes in order to be displayed.
Okay.
Great. Next up, we have ProgPal. Greg came in and left a comment and had talked to Pooja and others before this to see actions for helping the ProgPal debate. Or as Craig called it, the ProgPal debacle. And so basically he's the champion of EIP 1057, which is ProgPal. And he was unaware that and I mean, everyone was unaware that there was a mistake in the notes, and that the decision to go forward with ProgPal into an accepted state, or I should say, there was a decision to go with ProgPal to an accepted state well before that, but that, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, the understanding now is that there were mistakes about it going into a next hard fork that was written down in notes 81 and 77. And so those are being corrected through a pull request, but because of that, there's now not a clear decision on moving forward with ProgPal, and so that needs to be fixed. And so, Greg, do you want to just continue with the rest of your ask? And did I mess anything there?
Well, yeah, it was quite a mess there, because the decision, as noted, was quite clear, and those notes, that form of notes goes back quite a way. I think anyone coming into the PM directory would see, oh, here's a video. I don't have an hour to listen to it. Here's some notes. They're clearly rough. Here's a summary, decisions, 10 point something. That looks pretty official. And I took it that way as well. I was present on the call. I read the notes. To me, it looked clear. We wanted to go forward. There was some pushback on the date and some notion, well, we can resolve the date later, but we want to go forward. There was a successive meeting. Amin came on, he insulted everybody. There was some chatter afterwards, some proposals, but I never took it that initial decision to go forward had changed. Other people, including Vitalik, took that chatter afterwards as we had decided to do things. So that's on the core devs to clean up what we're doing and make sure when we publish a decision, it's a published decision. As far as ProgPow, the community, I don't think, has any clear notion of what's going on. Some people think we've decided not to do it. Some people think we have decided to do it. Some people think it's still up for the debate. And probably at this point, the fact is it's still up for debate. And it cannot stay in that state for too much longer because there are already a fair number of ASICs on the network. Somewhere we think between 10 to 40%. There's others coming on. So it needs to be resolved. And the people working on it are just wearing out. And so it's time to resolve this. And I'm asking for help in getting this resolution, which means help in surfacing the concerns of the community in a way that people can feel that their concerns have been legitimately surfaced. I'm not, as I've said, that interested in votes or signals. It's an amorphous community. We don't have a governance structure to say that a vote is legitimate. And the core devs votes don't mean a lot. You know, we need arguments that we can actually judge, and our responsibility is to secure the network. And I really think, from what I've seen on Twitter, that a lot of people do not understand that Prog POW is about, do we want ASICs to take over the network? And do not understand that if we do not put in Prog POW soon, ASICs will take over the network. So on Twitter and elsewhere, I see scattered debate, strong opinions, very little actual argument supporting opinions. You can't argue very much in 140 characters. And I don't know if the cat herders can help with, I don't know, just going through Medium posts, important Twitter posts, pulling that together to say, you know, here are what appear to be the major camps as Brent describes them, and what the major arguments seem to be. You know, pulling that together, getting some announcements out this week. The topic will come up just as far as the champions announcing what the current state of development is. And I'll be asking the core devs to set a date approximately a month in the future at which we'll try to make a no-go decision on, you know, putting it into a hard fork. So giving the community, you know, a month or so to have a final debate and set of deliberations that we can say, yes, we've discussed this. The core devs have had a chance to hear what we have to say. They've made their decision. We may not like it, but we've been heard. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I think this makes sense. Oh, go ahead, William.
Yeah, I definitely understand everything that you're saying. The way I see it, I'm really offering this as a personal opinion. I would be interested in other people's feedback. Is I'm not really entirely sure how possible it is, and I'll even try to explain why. The nature of the way I see it, which is always a very difficult thing to know, at the end of the day, certainly all that I know is how I educate myself on the subject and how I arrive by my opinions or lack thereof on the subject. But the impression that I get is that what we have looking at social media is a majority of people who are silent. And that could mean any number of reactions coming from them. But if I could just set maybe the silent supermajority to the side, after that, you have vocal members of the social media communities. Just for right now, I don't mean this as a political statement. I'm probably going to try and focus on the opposition to ProgPow. No matter what happens, there will be members of that group who will see themselves as not having been listened to if ProgPow is implemented. And being that they can be vocal and that they have people who listen to them, they will almost certainly drag a constituency of people with them who then will say that they have not been listened to if they don't get the result that they're looking for. This might be true on the pro ProgPow side also. I'm a bit less familiar with its members. It could be there's a group like that too. As a result, I mean, we've trawled these waters before. We've tried to get onto social media. We've tried to get people's opinions. We've tried to use various resources such as either Canonizer or Kialo to try and educate people about what the different sides of the argument are. But I don't think it'll change that when people are looking to establish their own opinion about it. Some of the people they're going to look to will probably necessarily say that they have not been listened to if they do not get the outcome that they desire. So I'm not sure that there's really a form we can present that will actually achieve those ends. Is that coherent?
Yeah, maybe one thing to add on that. Can everyone hear me? Sorry, I was having Zoom issues.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, so one thing to add, I feel like we had, like the last big ProgPow call basically was that discussion. We had people from both sides. I think in that call, they laid out, the kind of most coherent arguments for or against. My read on it was that clearly ProgPow as it stands is not something that has unanimous support. Clearly, if we ship it, there's a strong risk of a network fork, and that during that call, both sides of either pro-ProgPow or anti-ProgPow really wanted to avoid a network split. So to me, it seems like if I was pushing for ProgPow or to make the network more GPU friendly, the thing to do would be to go through that last call, try and summarize the argument of the against camp, and try and come up with a proposal that meets some of those halfway. And I know Ben had his proposal he proposed on the call. I know on the call James also asked about some of the could we just do some small tweaks to ETH hash to fix the light evaluation attack? And people were slightly more open to that. But it just feels to me as though pushing ProgPow as ETH 1057 today, it's just not going to work. There's a significant part of the community that opposes it. They've laid out their arguments in many different places. And both sides of the debate have said that they'd rather see ProgPow or not see ProgPow than split the network. And that means that as client developers, it's pretty irresponsible to put this in, which will almost certainly split the network if that's what both sides want to avoid. So that's kind of my perspective on it at this point.
Yeah, I found that call very inconclusive, partly because Amin mostly insulted us. I don't think I'm the only core dev. In fact, I know I'm not the only core dev who felt he simply showed up, called us incompetent. I tried to make statements. He simply interrupted me. No, I wouldn't take any conclusion from that call, and it didn't really come up again.
So I guess the thing though is, Greg, in that call, Bitsby Trippin was the current champion of ProgPow, right? If you go back and listen to the call, near the end of the call, he says, at this point, 1057 as it stands today is not something that's viable to go in. So I want to make a better EIP that addresses the proliferation of ASICs on the network, but in a way that would be better served than ProgPow and without the baggage. So that's kind of since the champion even said it shouldn't go in, that's where I came to that conclusion from.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a great path forward. Like, I feel like on the call, like, yes, Amin was kind of a jerk, but aside from that, there was like some openness by people to, you know, maybe move something like this forward, but it would have to take a different form. I agree that you'd have to just, you know, just change the name, change the EIP number to kind of have a fresh start. Try to consult people. Like, I mean, Martin from Gnosis seems pretty reasonable on this stuff. Ben, who was on the call as well, seemed pretty reasonable. Try and consult with those people, get their feedback early on, and see if you can come up with a proposal that kind of satisfies them. I feel that has a much higher likelihood of making it on mainnet than ProgPow today. Yeah.
Which Ben are you talking about?
Ben DeFrancisco.
Okay,
Yeah, that's him.
Ben DeFrancisco is now a champion. Bitsby Trippin and I, Michael Carter, had a discussion afterwards. He should be a champion. He's just sort of fallen off the discussion for a moment. Everybody was scrambling just to find a place to shelter from the virus. And only recently has everyone gotten okay. Ben was sitting in his apartment watching hearses roll out of town because the cemetery at his hometown had filled up. So we're getting back to that. Michael Carter and I discussed it and said, yes, changing the number is just silly. Making some edits to it and starting the whole process over after nearly 2 years was just another delaying tactic when there really isn't time to delay. Christy has work that we're getting ready to publish, analyzing nonces on the network to say, yes, we have A3s operating, some evidence that A10s are operating. So that's things people need to be aware of. So the feeling that is more than feeling, the analysis of all three of us is that a solid 1057 and a solid discussion of it is what needed to happen. The information has just not been presented there.
So, oh, sorry, go ahead. You can finish. I interrupted.
So basically none of us was willing to just write a new one, and there were no tweaks that would accomplish the goal. 1057 is the tweak, and it's solid, it's tested, it's on test nets, it'll soon be on the Ravencoin mainnet. So starting over just isn't an option. And
what time do you lose by submitting a new EIP? I mean, the reason I'm asking is because, I mean, if it's good PR, what's the time loss? Because you're going to have to compare that to whatever you're going to lose by people having this bad association with 1057. And the fact that Bitsby Trippin said that maybe it's time to move past it into a new PR.
In past experience, 2 years.
Are you going to face the full 2 years here, though? I mean, being that this is a revision of 1057, you're really going to have to start everything over from scratch again?
The revision we got into is pretty much a bit more explanation in the motivation. We can add a section, although really there's a whole separate paper to refer to as to analysis of what's currently on the network. And Michael has a table he's worked out basically of clients that are ready to keep track of. Essentially, all the mining pools were on board with the version just before the kick fix. All of the exchanges were ready to go with the version just before the kick fix. So essentially getting the proposal cleaned up to the point of, look, this is done, it's tested, everyone's ready to go with it. So do we go with it or do we say no? Then somebody, not me, probably not Ben, probably not Michael, can decide, let's find another way to stop ASICs, or let's decide that no, we will let the ASICs take over. We don't have any other proposal for how to let ASICs, for how to stop ASICs on the network.
I'm not understanding why you would still need the full 2 years on a new EIP.
It took 2 years already.
But
No, none of
there's changes since that last 2 years happened.
As
none-
in, you're not starting from scratch on a second EIP.
You understand the fear.
Yeah, but
I
we're telling
do.
you shouldn't be fearful.
Well,
And not just, I think there's a counterbalance also, which is that if it does give you a PR gain, if anything, I think the shortcut might not be shorter. I mean, but here I'm taking that a bit out of context. I mean to say that if you want to stay at 1057 to save time, I'm not sure that you'll save time in the long run if people perceive that as 1057 getting sort of bulldozed in.
I don't understand why anyone thinks that after 2 years of deliberation, anything is being bulldozed.
Well, I know, but you have a different perspective than a majority of people.
I understand, but we don't have a different proposal. Nobody has a different technical proposal for how to stop the ASICs.
I mean, you can do a lot of different things to stop. You can do CPU only mining. That's what who did that? We can do.
No, I'm talking an actual technical proposal, code written on testnet, ready to go. That's work, months of work.
Yeah,
we
that you have a point. Okay, so I guess the main point is you're going to be going forward discussing 1057, and depending on what the core devs want to do, that could last a month, since that's the ask you're going to be giving them. And what you're saying is you don't want the cat herders to collect signals, but you want us to be kind of a loud messaging platform that this is happening, so that there can be evidence that this was announced, right?
Yes, signals become much more useful at the end of that process.
So have you looked at Kialo?
A little bit. It takes time to get those going.
Oh no, it's already there, is what I'm saying.
I don't want
It's
to.
had some time, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have a strong opinion on those.
And the other one, because you mentioned that there wasn't a concise area where the pros and cons or the overview of each side of the debate was. I would argue that Kialo is one of those places, and another one is my blog that took me about 16 hours to write, that has the pros and cons section with 11 pros and cons per side and multiple follow-ups per pro and con.
On that, I was thinking, like, if it is appropriate to curate all these things like at one place, maybe on the ECH website, to list what all documents and things that we have done so far. So I'm going to just share this link. I have already curated it, but I have not put it on the website yet. This actually lists all the discussions that has been going on in the Ethereum Magician. And there is also a thread initially opened by the cat herders to, kind of discuss about the proc point that and all those things. So if it will be helpful, we are willing to do that. That would be a platform to get to know about what has been there and what is pros and cons. But it certainly cannot be a voting platform, just the informational piece we would be providing there.
I really do think that should get put out there. Yeah, this is a great resource. I'm looking through it now.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes,
I actually saw someone reference this on Twitter. I didn't know what they were referring to.
What was that, Greg? I'm sorry. You were talking a second ago?
Yeah, so curated information like that is beautiful. And getting the word out that here is some information that's curated and perhaps pointers to places to discuss it. The Magicians is a very useful place to discuss these things.
Yeah, so actually there is a thread that was initially created by cat herders only to discuss this proper thing. I just have shared the link in the chat. So if we would want to continue the discussion, we can kind of promote this thread and people can come join us together here again and continue the discussion.
Yeah, we're happy to promote that material. What I don't want to happen is I don't want there to be conflation between the Ethereum cat herders and either side of the issue. And we're already dangerously close to that by bringing this up again at all, because that puts us in a position to imply that we're taking the position that ProgPow has not been decided.
It has not.
Well, no, it's been decided from an EIP process perspective, and it's been decided as it's not going into a future fork right now. Those are the decisions.
I'd say there has not been a decision. There has not been a decision as to whether or when to put it into a fork.
That's what I just said.
Oh, well.
There's a slight difference between the two, but they're close.
Oh, okay. I might have messed up. Yeah.
It's subtle, but it's very important. It's not to say we're not going to put it into a fork is to tell the champion.
The next fork.
No, it's not going into Berlin. That was already decided. That's for sure.
Right. So Hudson said that the decision from the IP process as of right now is that it's not going into the next fork. Whereas I believe you said your position was that there has not been a decision.
I misunderstood, Hudson.
Yeah,
okay.
it's complicated. It's fine. But
it is clear it's not going into Berlin. As far as the fear just expressed, a curation of things, plus getting it out there that, Friday at this point, just listen in if you're interested. The champions will be presenting current status, and I'll be asking the core devs to set a future date to make a decision that is a decision. And we've talked about Hudson and Pooja cleaning up the process so that when we list a decision, it can be taken as such.
Well, that's going to be a wider thing than just me or Pooja, but I know what you mean. You've talked to us about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's controversial, but I don't quite understand how it could be.
Which part?
I've seen controversy on Twitter as to whether we should even make decisions.
Oh, not that we shouldn't make decisions, that how they should be interpreted is what I've been more seeing. Like who should interpret them in an official way.
Yeah, you make statements in the English language.
Yeah.
So it gets into some interesting philosophy questions. Yeah.
Please.
Okay. So just I want to go over what the asks are, and that we are agreeing to put to as much as we are able to before Friday, put out different resources and advertise those resources for people to look at the pros and cons of ProgPow, as neutral as we can be about that. Is that the big ask here, or the main ask, I should say, or was there something else complementary?
Yeah, Friday's fast. Even just a quick note that it's listen in. I don't think we do a good job of necessarily advertising that the calls are coming and what the agenda is, but it's there.
Yeah, and have you read my blog on the pros and cons of ProgPow, or did you miss that one?
Yeah, I did. It was a great blog, but it ended with the personal opinion.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And there's a lot of controversy on whether I should have done that or not. Like, yeah. So then that's fine. But I'm at the pros and cons section. Like, that was the one that I feel like can be extrapolated into something more important if it's accurate. And that's another thing. People didn't even, it was so boring. People didn't even comment on that part.
Yeah, it could be a framework also for linking out to longer form essays from people who hold those positions.
Sure.
Any way to help. I understand your need to remain neutral. I think you're quite competent to do that. And I think you have a reputation as neutral gatherers of information. creators of forums for the community.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just saying this one is important at this point. It really is. And if I don't think people understand, they are choosing whether or not to let the ASICs take over. And there's not a lot of time left.
If I could just backtrack to one point, which is this, it could be I interpreted you wrong. If so, please do let me know. But I believe that part of the ask also was to try and create a forum in which both sides could feel that the other side heard them. So I do sort of want to reiterate what I said before, which is I don't think that we're capable of doing that. We can get the information out there. We can try and help people understand the sides, but I don't think it's within our capability or perhaps anybody's capability to make one side feel heard by the other and then still disagreed with.
You can't make them feel that way. You just provide legitimate forums, and then other people can decide whether.
Yeah, I'm all for the information being there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd love to see the magician, even the thread on the magician forum for the EIP. Many people, I'm not sure, have actually read the EIP. They certainly don't seem to engage with the arguments there. And even just pointing there and say, please, make your arguments there, put a link to your Medium essay, to your blog, anything. But the core devs cannot spend all day trying to synthesize what happens on Twitter or Reddit or other places. And pulling together arguments, pulling together links out, any of that you feel is within your remit, and resources would be helpful.
So I'll put up this resources by maybe in another 24 hours. It will be up on the ECH website, and we can share the information on via our Twitter as well. That this is a kind of curation. Both sides of people are welcome to review it and share their thoughts on the appropriate platform, because that also links to the Musician Forum where discussion is already ongoing, right?
Yes, you say you have an existing curation, so
yes.
that's.
Yeah, it's just not on the website yet, but I'll do it within 24 hours.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
Great. Happy we can help, Greg. And with that, we have about a minute left. The thing that I did want to go over, I took all of the psi out and converted it to DAI, and we talked about that in the private channel. We lost about 100 to 200 DAI worth of money, I guess, because of the weird conversion that was happening whenever I was needing to convert them, and the fact that Maker shut down their bridge to do that. So now I have all of it. I want to put it back into the multi-sig, but I want to decide if we should set up a new multi-sig that is the next version of Gnosis is safe. I know someone was commenting that they didn't like the interface of it. Was that Lane or someone else? I think it was Lane.
Yeah, I think so.
Either way, someone said it wasn't that user-friendly. I want to create it and try it because it's not going to hurt to do that. And then once we play around with it a little bit, we can decide if we want the old one or the new one. Also, I think we're going to add Puja to the 3 of 5 multi-sig, right?
Yeah, I'll be happy to join if people have no objection.
I'm for that.
Yeah, that would help. 3 of 5 would help, right?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, we'll go ahead with that then. I'll reiterate that decision in the chat to make sure there's a chance for any other dissenting opinions, but otherwise, when we set up the new safe or when we keep the old safe, we'll add Puja.
Cool.
Okay, I think that's all we have time for. If there's anything we missed, just go ahead and put it in the chat and we can work through it there. And otherwise, we will talk to you all in 2 weeks, right? How often do we have these things? I have 7 hours of meetings in a row today, so my mind is fried.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah. So it's going to be on May 12th, as proposed, if nothing changes in between. But yeah, see everyone in next 2 weeks from now.
Okay, bye everyone. Don't die of COVID.
Yeah.
Thank you, Hudson. Yeah, thank you, Greg, for being here. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.